Welcome to Critical DMG, a podcast about two best friends who might have grown up but never grew out of their love for the Game Boy. We will be playing and reviewing every North American title released on Nintendo's original handheld console. This is episode 52. I'm Tony, and I think we are about to hear some tales of daring do bad and good.
Okay. So I'm not a big fan of this franchise, so maybe that makes sense to other people. But I'm Jeff, and today we are talking about Disney's Ducktales. We also have a little bit of a fun thing, which we haven't done in a while. We're also joined by TheLetterTen.
Hello.
Do you want to give our listeners a little bit of background, why you're on the show, why you potentially care about this game, and all of that fun stuff?
Yes, as you said, I'm the letter 10, or you can just call me 10 for short. That's my name. I am on this podcast, like you said, to talk about DuckTales, one of my favorite franchises growing up. I played the NES version a lot.
Me too.
And I've got some opinions about this game.
Aha. Good.
Awesome. And where can people find you? So, shout out socials, any projects you're working on.
Yeah, I just started my own podcast. It's called Hold On, Let Me Save, where we talk about retro and indie games, one game per each.
Mm-hmm.
And I also write for a website called The Cosmic Circus, and I write game reviews. I'm going to be doing book reviews about video games soon. And I'm on Blue Sky, just TheLetterTen.gay, and that's the best place to find me.
Awesome. Tony and I both listened to your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think very fitting to join our podcast as well. So very, very excited to have you here, and yeah, very excited to hear kind of what you have to say about this game. And the first thing is, what's your immediate opinion? Would you recommend someone throw this in their Game Boy, use the batteries, yes or no? Should someone play DuckTales?
No, I like the game, but I cannot recommend this game.
Yes.
It's a bit on the difficult side, especially compared to the original version for the NES. This is much more difficult than that one. 'Cause I played the original NES game probably hundreds of times as a kid, hundreds of times as an adult. I played the remake DuckTales Remaster.
Yes.
But this Game Boy game is just, it's hard.
Okay, Tony, it sounds like I kind of know your answer based on your reaction to that, but would you say yes or no for this one?
No, I would say no. I thought I was taking crazy pills. I kept looking online and everybody was like, this game is such a great adaptation and it holds itself up to the NES version. I was like, what? What? So no, immediate opinion is no.
Okay, I might be a no asterisk. I might throw an asterisk on there.
Yeah, I could potentially do that as well. I am feeling just a little justified in my initial impressions of the game, but I could maybe bend a little on an asterisk at the end.
Yeah, me too, but that sounds a lot like wrap-up talk, so we'll get to that later in the episode. Before we do, Tony, can you give us the back of the box?
I can. Disney's DuckTales. Scrooge McDuck takes a world tour on Game Boy. The world's richest and squawkiest duck hunts a lost fortune around the world and out of it. It's no game for waddlers. There are vines to climb, mines to search, and a haunted castle to conquer. Uncle Scrooge grabs the jewels, then tussles with the spookiest, trickiest, spideriest foes to get the big treasures. And there's not much time. 5 action-packed mazes with secret rooms and tricky pitfalls. Transporters, a helicopter, and a UFO zip Uncle Scrooge around the world. No ice is nice when there's a fortune to find. Can he knock out the snake to grab the Amazon loot? And that's the blurbs that are accompanying 2 little screenshots here.
I mean, I guess that sounds about right. This game, released in November of 1990, published by Capcom, so Disney and Capcom. Pretty big name there. Apparently, it shared a lot of personnel with the Mega Man franchise, so kind of found that interesting. We haven't seen Mega Man yet on the show,
No.
but I think at least I'm looking forward to it, so
We won't for a while yet.
yeah. And as Tin kind of mentioned, this game is a port of the NES version. changed a little bit from what I could tell.
Yes.
I hadn't played the NES version, so maybe Tin can shine a little bit more light on that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, both versions sold over 1 million copies, which made it one of Capcom's best-selling games for both platforms.
Oh, wow. I knew the NES one would be high seller, classic, whatever. I did not think that this one was. I don't want to get too much into the differences between this and the NES version because some of it is mechanical things in the way that the game plays and level design and stuff like that. But yeah, they are functionally the same, aesthetically the same. It all takes place in the same world and stuff like that, but they are not 100% the same game. There are some differences in them that kind of set them apart. Then we can get into that more in the mechanical section for sure.
I'm happy with that. Tin, Tony, do either of you have anything else that you want to kind of say for the background of the game, or should we just dive into, or I guess pogo jump into the mechanics?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive into mechanics, especially the pogo jump.
Yeah, that's sort of one of the immediate things to talk about, I guess, mechanically. So yeah, let's do it.
Ducktales, it's at the very least a platformer.
Yeah.
Your goal is to collect all the treasures, make Scrooge McDuck even more rich. Controls, pretty simple, I would say. Your D-pad moves you around, A jumps, and then B will pull out your cane to allow you to pogo jump, and vaguely lets you swing your cane like a golf club.
Yeah.
I found that to be like a little bit not a great mechanic because you really had to be next to an object, holding a direction, pushing B, but
Yeah, the pogo stick jump, it's a lot harder to do in this game than I thought would be.
Yeah.
I was holding down both buttons because it's, I know I'm trying to get too much in comparisons between this and the NES version, but I was holding down both buttons instinctively. So it was a little frustrating at times, stopping on edge of platforms.
The pogo jump in the NES version of DuckTales, isn't it? You have to hold down and B to do the pogo jump?
I believe so, yeah, especially on the harder difficulties. I think on like easy mode, you had to do it just one button and you initially had to do a down and the B button, but on hard difficulties, you had to constantly press it down. And here, it's just the one button, which is definitely not what I was used to. Instinctively, I wanted to hold down both.
Right. So let me ask Ten, and Jeff, I'm gonna, I guess, steal this from you. How far did you get? Did you beat the game?
I did, but it took me about 30 tries to finally beat the game on normal.
Woohoo.
I did it on easy mode, but I got stuck very much on the African mines and the moon stage.
I could see that. There are 5 levels plus a bonus boss, and your goal at each level is to find your way to the boss arena, defeat the boss, collect the treasure, essentially is what you're doing.
Mechanically, the African mine stage had this one section in particular that required you to go over some pits where the enemies would jump up, and you have to pogo stick on them in order to cross the gap.
Right.
Yeah, it was like watery falls or something like that.
Exactly, but when you get too close to them, they would spawn, jump up, and then you won't have enough timing to actually jump on them and cross the path, and I would die, and I would die again, and I'd be out of lives, have to start the game over again. So I would go through other stages, just get them done, and then back to the African mines and dying over and over again.
Yeah, I found that section you really had to just send it and trust that they were going to spawn, and it really felt bad when you just missed that timing. This game has a lot of instant kill pits, which always kind of feel bad, especially when you don't have that many lives. I think you start with 3?
2.
Oh, geez.
Okay, you start with 2 lives, and then you can find extra lives in the different levels, but they're not that plentiful. So anytime you have instant kill pits, with that few lives and no continues, it feels kind of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not even just that you have so few lives. The real kicker, and this is something that could also be talked about in the aesthetic section, you have pits that you cannot fall down, they will kill you. And also pits that you have to fall down to progress the level, and they don't have any way to differentiate between the two of them. Sometimes there's like a chain or a rope or something dangling down to let you know, like, oh yes, you have to go down here. But sometimes there's not, and you will just fall off of the edge of a level, taking a leap of faith, and sometimes that was the right move, and you're supposed to go down into like a cave or something, and sometimes it wasn't, and you die. What? I don't think that that's an issue of the Game Boy color palette or anything here. I think that is a level design thing, because I do not remember any similar issues like that when I played the NES version of this game. I think that there are just some of the level design choices here that were made to like remix the game to make it like a little more accommodating for the Game Boy or whatever, that just ended up being bad. They just ended up being bad decisions and making the game actively harder in ways that it just was not intended to be. Or maybe it was. We've had a lot of malicious game design here on some of these games, so maybe it was. You can't ever put too much past these older game developers, but like the difficulty here, especially considering that the easy, medium, and hard difficulty is just how many hits you can take. It doesn't do anything for falling into pits or anything like that.
Still insta-death.
That's what I said. I felt like I was going crazy when I was looking at other people of now, not of the time, because those reviews you kind of have to take with a grain of salt depending, but like recent people in the 2020s even, a lot of them said it was easy, and I was like, am I just bad at DuckTales on the Game Boy? Like, I found this game exceptionally hard sometimes. I didn't beat it, for the record. Jeff, I don't know about you, but I did not beat this game, and I played it way more times than I thought that I was going to.
I did, but I may have used modern conveniences to allow me to do that.
Aha.
So yeah, I did end up beating it, but it is definitely brutal.
Dang, I'm the odd one out.
Yeah, I beat it 5 times,
Oof.
3 times on easy, twice on normal, and there's so many
10.
times I just wanted to give up because those deaths. And I developed a pattern once I figured out the African mines and the moon stages. I would go to the Himalayas, unlock the extra health with Bubba, the cave duck.
Yep.
And then I would go to Transylvania and find the extra health there. And just going back to what you said about the level design, Transylvania specifically has those pits where you have to go down them and you don't know if you're going to die or live. But you have to progress by going down those pits. And it was very confusing.
Yeah, and I feel like they did a great job in the Amazon, which I guess we haven't said yet, but you can select any level you want from the get-go. So you can start on any level you want. You have, a level selector, which is kind of nice, but it is in a certain order that I think is kind of intended for you to progress through. It prompts you to go to the Amazon first. I don't know if, it's intended as like the easy stage or whatever. But I feel like they do a good job in that stage of the vines or the ropes go down into the pit, which kind of shows, okay, I can go down into this. I think the first one you come across is just a bonus bit where you can get extra money, all of that fun stuff. I feel like they did a good job there. But then, yeah, in the later levels, the African mines, the Himalayas, like the ice level, had a lot of these pits that you were just supposed to, just trust that you jump into and that they're okay.
That's where I found it the most, was in the Himalayas. That's where I died, falling into pits that I thought were safe, and it turns out, oh, nope, that one killed me. That's just my mistake.
Yeah, and what got me was they clearly showed the ability to indicate it in the Amazon, and then just decided, the rest of the levels, just figure it out. And yeah, Tin, I agree with you. It was just kind of frustrating dealing with that sort of, is this safe? Is it not?
Yeah, especially with the Himalayas. I think the reason why I chose the Himalayas first because I was used to the NES version Himalayas being so hard.
Right.
So I was kind of familiar with like the goats,
Mm-hmm.
and the snow rabbits
Mhm.
and the hockey players for some reason are in the Himalayas in the
Right.
stage. It was just I figured I'd just do the hardest stage first, or what most people would consider the hardest stage.
Yeah.
Definitely the hardest boss with the Yeti on that stage, especially with the size of the arena. It was so tiny,
Mm-hmm.
and it just was very difficult because I would think I'd be using my pogo stick to get on top of the boss,
Yeah.
and I would still clip into the head of the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I only had 4 hits because I just unlocked the 4th bit of the health bar on that stage, and I died
Mm-hmm.
so many times trying to defeat that boss.
I found most of the bosses to be pretty pushovers. Like, after struggling to get to them through the levels over and over again, by the time I actually made it to the bosses, I usually was able to beat them pretty handily, because most of them are literally run in one place, run in another place, or like
Mm-hmm.
jump and stand still, or fly slowly from side to side. Like, they do not pose really any kind of a threat in the way that the DuckTales on the NES did. I don't think.
Wow, Tony just flexing her gaming skills, I guess,
But
because
but I didn't beat this one. That's what. So I'm not. I could beat the one on the NES. Like, I did not struggle with the one on the NES like I did here. I didn't beat it. I didn't even beat all of the levels individually. It's not even that I beat the game or would have gotten to the end. I did not even actually beat all of the levels separately. Some of them I just could not make it happen. So, yeah, this one stymied me in a way that I was not expecting at all.
yeah, I guess I kind of agree with both of you. I feel like some of the bosses were just trivial, like, why am I doing this? And then some of them, the hitboxes specifically, I feel would kind of mess you up and made them, I think, maybe artificially harder than they were meant to be. But yeah, some of the bosses just, yeah, they were not pushovers, I would say.
I only have 2 other things to talk about mechanically before we move on. One is that there is a really bad amount of slowdown basically through the entire game.
You read my mind.
Pretty much the only time you don't have to deal with it is when you're like selecting your level or the level is over. But pretty much anytime you are dealing with more than one enemy on the screen, or even if just multiple like gems or something are like all spawning at the same time, there is noticeable slowdown in how Scrooge moves or jumps or anything else like that, and it's pretty much inescapable. Very much noticeable, more on some levels than others, but it's there the whole time.
I was expecting some slowdown because the NES version has some slowdown in some areas.
Oh, sure.
Some of those areas, like with the falling blocks, still happen, but I noticed it too. Too many enemies, too many gems. It was frustrating.
I put no very quickly after a certain section, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but do you think that is the Game Boy's hardware just not being able to handle it, or
Something like having too many enemies on screen at the same time, slowing a game down, that's just how it is.
yeah, we've experienced that.
Yeah, we've experienced that in a lot of games, and that still happens even in like some modern games. Like, if too many things are happening all on screen at the same time, it can make things slow down. That's just kind of like how it works.
Mhm.
Things are thinking real hard, and here on the Game Boy, that can affect things more than it might usually affect things.
Mm-hmm.
So the sprites are big, Scrooge, all of the enemies, the gems are large and readable. So having things be on a pretty large scale already means that it's going to potentially be not very performant. One of the other games that we really saw that in was Gargoyle's Quest. That game had really big sprites too,
Mm-hmm.
and when things were all popping on screen at the same time or, moving around, that game slowed down pretty severely as well. So it's probably that, especially because with it being a port that is trying to be as faithful as it is to the NES original, the levels are big.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the area of game that you are playing in, what Scrooge is able to do, run, jump, pogo, your golf swing, interacting with the different enemies and NPCs and stuff. There's a lot that the game is keeping track of and running and updating in the background. So this is still 1990.
Fair enough.
Which I know that we have covered so many games so far, and especially in some of the games in DMG in Japan, like some of the ones that didn't come to the US, we've seen that they're already really pushing the limits on the Game Boy in some cases. But that doesn't mean that it's always happening. You know, there's no telling how much time and attention this port was given versus the NES version, and if they tried to do it really quick, and that meant that it wasn't coded very optimally. There is no way for me to know and, like, confirm, so that's my best guess, but, like, either way, the slowdown here is very affecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely tried doing too much in this game. Yeah, like you said, the sprites are just too big, too many things going on at once. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I would say specifically the helicopter scene in the Amazon.
Oh, no.
Ended my run so many times.
I have not been frustrated with one of the games we've played as much as that scene. So it's like relatively precise platforming. You then jump and grab onto a rope on a helicopter, but the helicopter really, I think, makes the Game Boy struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So it just slows down, and you're trying to make these precise jumps, and then it'll just like lose 10 inputs because, you know, it's lagging and stuff like that. So again, probably the most frustrated I've been with one of the games we've played is that section specifically.
Oh, I believe it.
Aside from that, the only other thing I have for this section is there are 3 different endings, which I find kind of interesting. Essentially, 1 if you have $0, 1 if you're just normal, and then 1 if you have, I think it's like $10 million or something like that. So kind of interesting. I just got the normal one.
I've never been able, whether the NES version or this version, I've never figured out how to have the $0 ending. When you beat a boss, you get money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to spend the money.
Apparently, if you hit select, it will heal you if you have exactly, I think it's $3 million.
Really?
So I think from what I could tell, like the guides I looked up, etc., you have to collect exactly $1 million because the bosses will give you 5 million.
Wow.
So you have to collect exactly 1 million so you can then use that healing thing twice to get you to 0 at the end.
Okay.
Sounded insane. I don't know how anyone found that.
Yeah, this is important to know. Everybody listening to this podcast is getting useful information here.
Hopefully.
It seems like something that would be like a speed run trick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like beating the bosses without having to actually like collect the treasure that they drop or something, but I don't know. Jeff, did you look up a speed run for this game by any chance?
Yes, it's 8 minutes and 56 seconds.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they go right to it. And
are there any glitches, or is it just like straight gameplay?
No, from what I can tell, it's just straight gameplay. Maybe I'm wrong on that. They do it on easy, so I guess you could take 2 hits before you lose a life.
Yeah, so it means more damage boosting, probably.
From what I could tell, it was kind of straight up. They just went exactly where they were supposed to go, and 9 minutes to beat the game.
Yeah, I guess if you know what you're doing, you could probably do it. Okay.
Looks like I have a challenge.
See, we've said that a couple times when Jeff looks up speedruns, and then we see that the games have like only 1 record or something like that. I always say, oh, Jeff, you could do it. You could challenge that speedrun. So 10, you could do it.
Yeah, I probably could. If I dedicate enough time to it, I probably could get pretty good at this game on easy mode at least. Because I spent about a week trying this, and I beat the game 5 times.
Yeah, you already spent a while anyway.
If I spent a month on it, I probably can get on the leaderboard or something. I've done it before with other games.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that does it for me.
Same.
So with that, I think we are done with the mechanics, and we're going to take a quick ad break, and then we'll be back with creative discussion.
Ad break.
Mama, did they ever make a Sonic game on the Game Boy?
No, afraid not, dude.
What about a Rayman game?
They did, but it's a Game Boy Color exclusive.
Ugh.
Sorry, kiddo, but Critical DMG is supposed to cover all the North American games on the original Game Boy, and in chronological order, too. That means we'll be talking about the ones you don't already know.
Well, was there at least a Mega Man game?
Yeah, a few of them.
Yay! I'll definitely listen to those episodes when they come out.
Great. The show should get to the first one sometime in 2028.
But that's so long from now.
Yeah, you're telling me. Are you making a Game Boy game? Awesome. But, how does it sound? 'Cause if it isn't something like this, or maybe like this, or possibly something like this, you might want to do something about that. And I know just who can help. Tip Top Tomcat specializes in authentic Game Boy audio that's been used in over 50 projects so far. If you need something quick, you can find bundles of pre-made Game Boy audio assets ready and waiting on tiptoptomcat.itch.io. But if you need something more custom, reach out directly by emailing thetiptoptomcat@gmail.com with inquiries about commission availability. And remember, you don't want your Game Boy game to just sound good. You want it to sound tip-top. And we're back. Okay. The music here was awful. And I know that probably sounds a little wild for anyone who hasn't actually listened to it. They are the songs from the NES game, but for some reason they did not do them justice here on the Game Boy, and they have weirdly timed or pitched notes in some places, or they're just missing kind of whole instruments or sections, and they sound almost like bizarro versions of the NES songs in some cases, and it was bad. It soured me on the experience basically from the title screen.
Oh, wow. I'm going to disagree with you here a little bit.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I thought most of the songs, I'm going to get the little caveat here in a second.
Okay.
I thought most songs were pretty faithful. I love the Transylvania version. The Amazon was a little weird because it was missing, the main melody tune from the NES version. But the one that made me almost cry was The Moon.
Oh,
it just sounded off key.
It's
I'm like,
awful.
what did they do to my favorite song in DuckTales? Most people's favorite song in DuckTales, even people who've never played DuckTales knows the song.
Absolutely.
And they massacred it.
Yeah, I was like, first, let me go to the Moon level. I have to hear the song. I went into that level and I didn't even start playing. I literally just sat there and listened to the song, and I felt awful. I was like, this is so bad compared to the NES version.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. They are faithful. They do sound like the songs from the levels in the NES game. If you know what those songs sound like, they do sound like those songs. But they are weird. They're bizarrely unfinished, or I don't know. Jeff, you said you haven't really played the original DuckTales, so I'm curious about what your take on the music is, with having no prior opinion on the songs.
So, admittedly, I did go and look up DuckTales theme songs after the fact, because I was like, are these supposed to be that?
Uh-huh.
Because like I said, I'm not super entrenched in this franchise. Growing up, Donald was one of my favorite Disney characters.
Yeah, me too.
But for whatever reason, DuckTales, I just was never like really into.
Mm-hmm.
Once I listened to the actual theme song, I was like, okay, yes, this is clearly meant to be that.
Uh-huh.
But I would say specifically the title track, because I am known to kind of not listen to music as I'm playing games. Even though it's in my headphones and I'm actually listening to it, I don't pay attention to it. I will say the title screen, there were multiple times where I was like, is my game glitching, or is it like maybe like lagging or something? Because there were a lot of times where there was like a repeated note that just kind of like and it made me feel like kind of one of those times when your game is maybe skipping or glitching or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that was just the intended effect. So I can't say I loved it. However, I think if I knew where they were pulling the songs from, I could have a bit more nostalgia or respect for what they did on the Game Boy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm of the opposite mind. Because I like those original songs so much, I am even more incensed that they did them so poorly here in some instances.
You know, I grew up playing the NES version, and
Me too.
I've listened to them hundreds of times, not just in the game, but I actively listen to these songs in my playlists when I'm working on stuff.
Oh, sure, me too. They're so good.
They're ingrained in my mind. So when I'm listening to these versions, I'm like, okay, they kind of sound like it, but they sound like doppelgangers. They sound the same, but they're not quite right, you know? And
yes!
It was disappointing. And that might just be the limitation with, you know, the sound chip in the Game Boy. I mean, obviously, it's more limited than the hardware, but they tried, I guess.
Yeah, but what makes it worse, and this is me having a very smooth segue into another topic, is that the sound and the music, because of how the Game Boy works and how everything shares the same like audio channels,
Mm-hmm.
the music, which was already not great to listen to in some of the levels, was peppered with dropped notes and other clipping issues because the game's sound effects would interject. So like bopping an enemy with your pogo stick or picking up a gem or a cake or something like that, those sounds would override the music and like interject into the track. And so the already not great music was interspersed with all of the game sounds, and it didn't feel like smooth in like a pleasant way. Every time you would pick something up, it would really feel like the sound effect was like punching a hole in the audio track.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think a lot of the sound effects just were bad or annoying to me. Like the bee was, I guess it was buzzing.
Yeah.
So
fine. The helicopter
was a nightmare.
The worst.
Oh my goodness.
With
it was awful.
Yeah, it was bad.
The helicopter sound effect was just really loud, really intrusive, and not fun. I guess it sounded like a helicopter, kind of, maybe, but
sure.
I did not love the sound effects.
Yeah, I felt like the sound effects were a little faithful, but not really. Kind of like with the music.
Yeah, I think overall, not great. I do think that the sprites and backgrounds, things from like that angle, are pretty great. I think that the scrunched up little more chibi sort of Scrooge is very cute.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the enemies transfer over really well and look pretty much exactly how you would expect them to. All of the locales look pretty much how you would expect them to. They didn't really have to change over a lot of that, you know, especially because the NES and the Game Boy are already very similar in the way that they do their tiles and sprites and things like that. So they really didn't have to change that much stuff over. But even for the fact that they no longer have color, they're all Game Boy palette and nothing else, I think that everything is readable. apart from the pits that you can't tell whether or not you're supposed to go down.
Yeah.
But like, that's a whole different thing. On the whole, the enemies and the blocks that you can interact with and stuff, everything pops out when it needs to and fades into the background when it doesn't, I feel.
Yeah, the sprites were solid, recognizable, pretty cute, and I think visually it does well, but like we said, audibly very questionable.
Yeah, there's not really like a whole lot to say, because if you know the DuckTales game on the NES, it looks pretty much like what you would expect. They didn't make this so distinct from the NES original in the way that it looks that you wouldn't be able to recognize it as, a port of that same game. So like, if you know the NES game, you already know what this one looks like. For anyone who doesn't already know the NES DuckTales game, and you are listening to this episode only hearing us talk about a DuckTales game on the Game Boy, well, it's got a Scrooge McDuck sprite, and it's got all kinds of enemies in these different locales, and they're very cute and large, and everything looks like where it ought to be, essentially, but it's not anything amazing. Like, let's say you had no reference for the DuckTales game on the NES, and this was the one that you had played. I feel like the enemies that they choose to put in the levels are fine. 10, I think earlier you said something about like the spiders being in those caves in the Himalayas, or like the hockey player guys or whatever. So some of them are just kind of like oddball choices, but it fits. It fits for DuckTales.
It does. There is one thing I noticed that was missing. There weren't really any Beagle Boys, except for maybe one in the game.
They come at you in one of the levels. I forget which one it was, but there's one level where like a stream of Beagle Boys are coming at you. It's like a couple of them every once in a while. But other than that, I don't think that they're in there.
Yeah.
Jeff, 10, I don't think I have anything else to say about the aesthetics section here, other than, haha, Capcom, Jeff, we already noticed this in the Gargoyles Quest manual, ads again in the last, 3 or 4 pages of the manual.
That was the last thing I was going to say, is I do appreciate that they put ads into their manuals, and
they're the only ones doing it.
They seem to make sense. Yeah, the back of this manual has Gargoyle Quest and then 2 Disney games. So, I don't know, maybe this is a bit capitalist.
A capitalist brain for the DuckTales episode. How fitting.
Exactly. I don't know. They seem to make sense for the game that you're playing. And as a kid, I could see opening the game on my ride home to my house before I play the game, looking at it and looking at the manual and being like, oh, wow, these other games exist.
Sure.
I think it's an interesting concept for the time.
And it works here because, like you said, they've got other Disney games in the ad section for this one Disney game. It doesn't work so much when it was in Gargoyles Quest and they were advertising, I think it was like Chip and Dale on the NES or something in the back of that one.
But anyway, that's all I have for the creative. Is there anything else?
10, any last things?
No, I don't have anything else. Not for this game, no. I'm going to probably play the game more on my own time. But other than that, no, I've got nothing else.
All right.
Okay, well, that sounds like a perfect way to get into the wrap-up there. So,
okay.
10, you were already starting to say that you will go back and play this game more for yourself. So does that mean that you do recommend it, or you're just going to do that because you're your own weirdo?
I do not recommend it. Yes, I am a weirdo, proud of it. And
we love it.
I would recommend it to people who like a challenge, who have a thing for these type of games. But if you've never played a DuckTales game, never played a hard Game Boy game before, absolutely I do not recommend it whatsoever.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's kind of where my asterisk comes in, is I do appreciate that they have the different difficulty levels, but if you are not like a huge DuckTales fan, if you don't have any connection to this IP, I feel like this platformer is not good enough to warrant playing over other platformers. There's just too much slowdown, too much jankiness within the game that if you do not like the IP, I would say steer clear, play other platformers because it just doesn't hit that spot for me.
Play the NES one. In a world right now where we will say equal access to both of them being what it is, play the NES one.
Yeah, I agree.
If you have played the NES one to death and you are not interested in speedrunning or challenges or anything like that, which I think the DuckTales games on the NES have definitely been ones that have kind of gotten their own mods or really in-depth like hacks and things like that potentially that like let you use them with like randomizers and stuff, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but like if that's not your thing,
I'm holding you to that. If I don't find a DuckTales
fine, whatever.
If I don't find a DuckTales randomizer, I'm coming at you.
Whatever. Point being, if you are not into that and you have gotten everything that you can get out of the DuckTales game on the NES, then like I can see a case being made to play this one because it's not exactly the same. And so the knowledge that you have of like level layouts from the one on the NES won't necessarily help you as much here. But like, I don't think that that's enough of a reason to play it on its own. I would still not recommend this. I love the NES original. This one just was not what I was hoping for, I guess. Not worth the batteries for me.
Fair enough. I think that means it's quiz time.
Oh, yes, I'm ready for this.
Are you? Jeff never is.
Yeah, I'm.
Well, now that you say it that way, I don't know now.
Tony has a way of zapping your confidence. So, as is custom, I am no longer in the hot seat for this quiz. Happy for that. 10.
Yes.
You'll be fielding these questions. I will give maybe some color commentary on the questions and things like that. But, Tony, what's question 1?
Bring it.
I like your confidence. DuckTales quiz, question 1. The DuckTales game is obviously supposed to show off the cast of the cartoon going to all kinds of places that they might have actually gone to on one of their adventures. Looking through the episode listings and reading lots of synopses, it does seem like the game we played ticks plenty of boxes for places the original DuckTales show does go. But what about the moon? Is it true or false that there are no episodes of the original DuckTales show where the characters spend time on the moon?
False.
I love the confidence.
Actually, it's true.
Wait, they've
While
never been to the moon?
There is...
Hold on. I did not go back and rewatch all 100 plus episodes of the 1987 Disney cartoon.
Okay.
But reading through all of their Wikipedia like plot synopses, as well as some other looking around for references to the moon in DuckTales and things like that, there are no episodes of the original show where the characters go to the moon. They do go to outer space a couple times.
Right.
But it's to Mars, or they're just kind of like flying around in a spaceship.
Right, yeah.
In the reboot show, which I have not seen, apparently the moon is featured a lot more frequently because, and I don't want to spoil anything here, I guess, but one of the new characters in that show turns out to be like stuck on the moon or something.
Yeah.
So the moon plays a much bigger role in the reboot show, but as far as my research has shown me, they do not go to the moon in the original cartoon.
That's right, because they go to Mars, because there's an episode of DuckTales in the original series where Gizmo Duck and Scrooge go to Mars. They're trying to rescue Gizmo Duck and everything else. That's where I got it conflated between the moon and the new series.
Right.
In season 2 and the new series, they go to the moon, and there's a whole thing.
Yep.
They even hum the moon theme from the game in season 2 of the new DuckTales.
I saw that. So yeah, the moon is definitely in the new one, not in the old one.
You got me.
I feel like this should be correct. I feel like the knowledge is there, so
No, it's fair. It's fair. I will stick by the rules.
I did my research.
I want to challenge Tony anytime I can. So
Yeah, but you're not in the hot seat.
Well, I'm the guest. I'm gonna respect the format of the show.
all right, fair enough.
Moving on. Question 2. I sure didn't like how the music was handled in this port, huh? Well, neither did ROM hack developer Run the Coins, who in 2022 released a hack for Ducktales on the Game Boy just to correct the sound to be more closely aligned with the NES original. I'm pretty glad for this, but I was sad to see there's not much else in the way of available ROM hacks for this game. All except what? A hack to replace all of the cake and ice cream sprites with vegetables. B, a hack to let you leave any level at any time. C, 2 separate Spanish language translation patches. Or D, I'm just kidding, there's nothing else.
A really sounds like a D answer to me.
That's what I'm leaning towards. I haven't confirmed my final answer yet because they all sound so plausible, except for the vegetables one. The vegetables one, I don't believe that one bit.
So I usually try and give Jeff a little, like a little,
Nudge.
yeah, maybe like guarded suggestion, and so what I'm gonna say here is it's the most boring of them that you can think of.
Oh, it's gonna be the translation ones, whichever one that is.
Yeah, it is C.
Yes.
No offense, I guess, to the Spanish language, but of those 3, of those options, that's the one that changes the least about the game. That, you know, they could have already released it in Spanish and probably should have, actually, because Donald Duck is very popular in a lot of Spanish-speaking countries.
He is.
Yeah.
The comics are very popular.
Right, exactly. But apart from that audio hack that fixes up the music, the only other work done for this game that I could find were 2 separate patches to translate the game text into Spanish. One of them was done all the way back in 2012, and the other one was done in 2021. For the record, romhacking.net shows about like 4 times as many hacks and patches for the NES version, multiple different languages, and then a bunch of different like graphical patches, and I think even like a difficulty rebalancing and stuff. But yeah, the Game Boy didn't really get a lot.
Yeah.
All right, 1 for 1.
Okay.
Doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
Question 3. Unusual for us so far, this game got a remake. Well, the original NES one did, anyway, I guess. DuckTales Remastered came out for PS3, Xbox 360, and Wii U in the fall of 2013. And brought a new graphical redesign and much grander narrative to the rather humble original. However, what I found wildly fascinating is how Capcom chose to give reviewers their early copies of the game. Which of these was included in the 2013 DuckTales Remastered promotional materials sent out to review outlets? Is it A, a DuckTales lunchbox full of shredded dollar bills? B, a golden NES cartridge of the original DuckTales game? C, a paper coupon for 50% off of the Cheese of Longevity? Or D, it's actually all of these things?
Wow. You really did your research on this because I have no idea.
Thank you. I try.
I'm going to go for a wild guess here. I don't think it's all of them. I'm going to go with the lunchbox with shredded up dollar bills.
Listen to the little bit of.
But you can see. But the thing about a lunchbox is that you can store things in a lunchbox.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
It's Tony does like to give little hints, but you just need to, pick up on them, I suppose.
I'm remaining entirely objective.
I'm getting excited. I just want to answer. I'm like, I got this. Okay, yeah, I guess I can go for a little tiny teensy little hint.
There are all of these things, and you want to say a lunchbox, but you could put some things inside of a lunchbox. Maybe these other things.
Yeah.
Maybe all of these other things.
I will say D is typically a joke answer. However, all of the above, I do like to I do like to take all of the above answers.
I only ever put all of the above or none of the above in D as well. It's either the joke answer or those things.
Oh, that's dastardly right there. I'm gonna go with my gut instinct and just say the lunchbox with the shredded dollar bills in it.
No, it was D, all of them. Because, so this was back in a time where AAA game companies were giving out full promotional packages to review outlets. Like, Capcom manufactured 150 golden DuckTales NES cartridges, and they had them sent off nestled inside a metal lunchbox padded with shredded money. There was also, like, jokey kind of duck-themed, like, pamphlets with information about the game and the show and, like, characters and things like that. But, yeah, different time.
This is insane to me. Yeah, like, I can't imagine all of those things.
You should look up pictures of it. It is wild. Like, they are literally just, like, a metal DuckTales lunchbox with, like, shredded money and the game inside. And, like, yeah, it's just NES DuckTales, but on a gold cartridge.
With that, our guest quiz is in the books. So thank you so much, Tin, for obliging us in that.
How do you feel being in the hot seat?
My bottom's a little warm, but other than that, I'm fine.
Yep, every week, that's how it is. With that, Tony, can you remind us what our listener quiz from last week was?
I can. So, listener question for Bubble Ghost was about how in the original Atari version, there were a couple other things that the player could do, like different modes that you could enter into by pressing keys on your keyboard. One of them was in there to help you, like, puzzle out maybe a difficult level, and you could press P to enter practice mode, and I wanted to know what that did. Jeff, 10, any ideas, any guesses?
No, I don't have any guesses.
So I do think I committed to guessing this time, so...
You did. You're not allowed off the hook this time. 10 gets out free, but you have to guess.
I'm going to say it allows you to practice a level without dying or popping your bubble.
Ooh, you're so close. So you are very close, and I would get, if you were getting points for the audience question, which I think we actually kicked to the audience for a final verdict on, but if you were getting points for that, I would give you the point on that one because you are very close. It would actually let you play any level that you wanted, except for the very last one, and you would be given 6 bubbles, but it doesn't count toward any kind of, like, progression. So you can play the level, you can pick any level you want, try it with 6, lives worth or whatever, but you can't continue on from there. It'll just, like, make you go back and you have to do it over again. But if you are struggling with a specific level, you can at least, like, test it out and try to maybe figure out a strategy. I wish that was in the game that we played. That would have been, maybe at least something, but no, not for us.
Yeah, agreed. That would have been nice. I was close.
You were.
What is our listener question for this week?
Okay. So for DuckTales, the stories of DuckTales originated from the long-running Disney Comics series starring Donald Duck. The character of Scrooge would spin off from there, but in 2025, he would have his own starring comic miniseries under the new Marvel Disney banner. No longer just Scrooge McDuck, the disgustingly wealthy economic vessel, his 4-issue comic series has the subtitle calling him what? Jeff or 10? You're actually not allowed to guess 10, but any guesses?
All of the things you just said blow my mind. Like how recent it was, the fact that it's part of Marvel.
I know.
But I have no idea. Tin, do you have an idea that you're not allowed to say?
I don't have any idea. I honestly don't have any idea.
Yeah, you can look it up. It is...
I'll wait for the episode after it airs, and then the next episode.
Yeah, yeah. I will be more than happy to reveal to everybody after. But yeah, I will just say I saw the cover of the first issue of the miniseries. I read the plot synopsis and was just like, "Yep."
Thanks for listening to Critical DMG. If you would like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/criticaldmgpod. Join us there for monthly newsletters and extra content. Otherwise, please leave a review wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe recommend us to your friends or anyone else you might think that would like the show. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it.
And with that, I think we're at the end of Ducktales.
Woohoo!
Huge thank you for 10 for joining us. And
Yeah.
please shout out yourself again. Where can people find you? What projects are you working on?
Yeah.
All of that.
Well, first off, thank you for letting me be a guest on your podcast. It's a huge honor.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
I write for thecosmiccircus.com, and I have a new podcast called Hold On, Let Me Save with my co-host Flannel Cat.
Which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We just did our first episode. We're doing a second episode this month for Kirby and the Amazing Mirror and Myth-Wrecked Ambrosia Island.
Excited for that one, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It'll be out by the end of the month. And then we've got the next couple episodes hopefully planned out, but that's where you can find us at holdonletmesave.podbean.com.
And we'll link those in our description, so
Oh, of course.
you can easily find those. And again, very happy to have you on.
Thank you.
What game does 10 get to sit out on now that she got to come here for DuckTales, which I guess was net negative experience for the whole crew here, but well, what do I get next time?
So join us next week. We are talking about Ishido, The Way of Stones. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say not a puzzle game. Rare.
I think it's a board game.
Oh, board games are kind of puzzle games, but...
Yeah, I think it's a board game.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what Ishido is, but join us next week and find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Until then, bye everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.